Trump is rigging the economy for the wealthy. Everyone loses under Trump's tariff plan. Here's how and why tariffs will impact you negatively. For starters, tariffs are essentially a tax on imported goods. Under Trump's plan, goods coming in from Mexico and Canada will have a 25% tariff on them, and he's going to raise the tariffs on China by 10%. And simply put, this is a horrible idea. Not all tariffs are bad. For example, tariffs can be beneficial when the US has enough domestic supply to meet domestic demand. Because if two goods were the exact same quality and one was 25% more expensive, you would buy the cheaper one, right? Especially if they're the exact same quality. And that is an important way that tariffs are used. It raises the cost of foreign goods so that we are encouraged to buy made in the USA products. And this in theory wouldn't impact the consumer. The US would have enough supply to meet demand, therefore it can maintain its price, while foreign companies are having to raise theirs by 25%. However, Trump's tariffs will impact you because we do not have enough domestic supply of all of the goods that will be impacted by tariffs to meet our demand. In other words, we rely and use foreign goods almost every single day. Yes, the cost of food at the grocery store will go up. Think about it. Do you think a company will really just take a hit to their profits? No. Many of them have to answer to people, like investors. So instead, they are going to raise their prices, in this case by 25%, to maintain their profit margins, making the consumer pay more. In other words, you will likely pay 25% more on any good imported from Canada and Mexico. That's more goods than you might think. It's important to note this 25% increase in costs is before Canada and Mexico retaliate and impose their own tariffs, further driving up prices. The biggest loser of these tariffs isn't Canada or Mexico. It's us, the consumer. So why is he doing it? Well, Trump claims that he's imposing tariffs on Canada and Mexico for a multitude of reasons, because of fentanyl, because of immigration. But his only argument for these sweeping tariffs that kind of makes sense is to lower our deficit, but even then he is misleading you. The tariffs are really just a cover-up for a larger issue. The choice of an economy that only works for the wealthiest of Americans, or an economy that works for all Americans. So Trump may claim that he is imposing tariffs to raise revenue to help lower our deficit. But in reality, he doesn't care about the deficit. Trump cares about giving tax breaks to his billionaire besties, and he's using tariffs to cover the impact of this tax scam. Either way, everyday Americans lose. Think about it. With tariffs, every single person will have to pay more for imported goods. But those with a more disposable income, aka the wealthy, will be less impacted than a family that is living paycheck to paycheck. Trump is rigging the economy to the wealthy, but he has an opportunity to undo his missteps, continue to fund essential programs, and create an economy that works for all Americans. How? Well, he has the opportunity to call for a reformed tax code. Several provisions from his 2017 tax scam are set to expire. Some of those provisions are good, like the child tax credit, but others, really bad. Right now, the tax code is rigged to the wealthiest of Americans. According to the Tax Policy Center, it is estimated that in 2025, the top 1% will receive more than $60,000 in tax breaks, while the bottom 50% of households will receive less than $500. So we need to call our members of Congress to make sure that these provisions in the 2017 tax code are not made permanent, and demand a fair tax code so that our economy works for all Americans and not just the wealthy few. So let's pretend the worst case scenario happens and this tax scam is made permanent. There are two options, and quite frankly, both might happen. Option one, tariffs. If we impose Trump's tariffs, we will all have to pay more, but the wealthiest of Americans will still be able to afford their groceries. But some Americans may not be able to. And option two, we cut our spending and cut essential programs that Americans rely on. If we cut essential programs, the wealthiest of Americans will not be significantly impacted by the loss of Medicaid, while some American families will be devastated. But either option, everyday Americans lose. So Trump and our members of Congress have a choice coming up. They can marginally increase taxes on Trump's billionaire besties, or they can take actions to mask the impact of rigging the tax code to the wealthy, which in turn hurts millions of everyday Americans. Republicans' actions in the coming months will make clear whose side they are on. Are they on the side of billionaires? Or are they on the side of everyday Americans?